Imagine this. You find yourself standing at the threshold of a grand, ancient house, one you've never seen before but somehow recognize. Its walls stretch impossibly wide, lost in the low golden mist of an eternal sunset. The heavy wooden door creaks open under your hand, and a deep breath of warm, dust-sweetened air greets you like an old memory. Inside, corridors branch endlessly, rooms stacked within rooms, some filled with dazzling artifacts, others echoing with forgotten laughter. Some doors are flung wide open, welcoming. Others are locked tight, silent and secretive. And somewhere you sense, almost painfully, that the room you most long for is hidden deeper still, a place not easily found. This house is your mind, every room, every hallway, every secret chamber, a reflection of your thoughts, your dreams, your doubts, your hopes. And for those blessed, or perhaps cursed, with brilliant minds, the house is even larger, infinitely intricate. Every wall painted with complex ideas, every hallway branching into another 10, another 100 possible futures, possible regrets. The smarter you are, the more elaborate the architecture becomes. But here's the question that quietly curls under the base of your ribcage, that breathes against the back of your neck in the stillness. If this house is so grand, so filled with treasures, why do you so often feel lost inside it? Why does it feel at times more like a labyrinth than a home? Why does deeper understanding sometimes bring not peace, but more sorrow? Why does the sharpness of your mind so often carve chasms between yourself and happiness? You were told that intelligence was a gift, that insight would be your ladder to the stars. And yet some nights, when the world feels thin and the silence feels loud, you wonder if it has become more of a labyrinth than a sanctuary. You are not alone in this. There's a peculiar loneliness to seeing the world too clearly, a bittersweet ache to perceiving both the extraordinary beauty and the unbearable brokenness of existence, all at once. Maybe you've noticed it. In the philosopher who spends decades untangling truth, only to retreat into sorrow. In the artist whose genius paints worlds but struggles to find home in their own skin. In yourself, when the endless spiral of what-ifs and is this enough leaves you aching even in moments that should be pure joy. Have you ever felt that quiet dissonance, standing in the middle of a life others envy, while a soft voice inside whispers, "Is this all?" It's not arrogance. It's not ingratitude. It's not failure. It's something deeper, something older than language. A yearning etched into the marrow of those who see too much, know too much, feel too much. And here's something you need to hear, especially now, before we go any further. There is nothing wrong with you. This struggle, this ache, is not a sign of weakness or failure. It's a signpost, a calling, proof that your heart remains alive, tender, and unwilling to settle for half-truths. Still, it leaves a haunting question hovering in the dusk-lit corridors of your mind. Is it possible to think deeply, feel profoundly, and live joyfully without surrendering your soul's complexity? Or must you choose between the richness of your mind and the lightness of your heart? Must depth always come at the cost of peace? Somewhere deep within this house there is an answer, but it will not be handed to you. You must journey for it. Through rooms of wonder, through chambers of grief, through the long hallways of your own story. And perhaps, if you listen closely enough to the hush between your thoughts, if you dare to touch the locked doors you once feared, you will find it, a hidden room, a hidden truth, a hidden self, waiting patiently for you to come home. You step deeper into the house. At first, it feels exhilarating, each room a testament to the dazzling brilliance of your mind. Ideas bloom like wildflowers in the hallways, philosophies, dreams, possibilities. You marvel at the intricacy, the complexity, the rightness of it all. But soon, a heaviness settles, a strange pressing fog that thickens as you wander. Questions spiral into more questions. Every answer births 10 more doubts, Certainty feels like a fragile bird, too easily startled. You wonder, where is the foundation? Where is the ground I can stand on? This is the hidden problem smart people often face. The intellect, once unleashed, does not know how to stop seeking. The mind that is trained to observe, to analyze, to optimize, also learns to dissect joy, to question meaning, to erode certainty. It's a blade with no sheath. Carl Jung once wrote that the more intelligent a person is, the more the inner world becomes their battlefield. In the absence of external threats, the mind turns inward, questioning not only the world, but the very foundations of the self. And here lies the cruel paradox. The same mind that can build empires, cure diseases, compose symphonies, also notices every crack in the wall, every shadow beneath the door, every possibility of failure, loss, futility. The smarter you are, the more tools you have to undo yourself. Sartre named it nausea. That vertiginous recognition that life structures are, at their core, human inventions. Meaning is not handed down by some cosmic decree. It must be made, chosen, reaffirmed day after day. But what happens when the mind, trained to question everything, turns that blade toward the very act of meaning-making itself? You find yourself adrift, grasping, spinning endless silk threads that lead nowhere. Even when your outer life looks pristine, success, accolades, admiration, inside, there can be a growing emptiness. A quiet suspicion that none of it means anything, really. Not in the way you crave. This inner dissonance is not a glitch. It is a feature of a highly active, highly conscious mind. The smarter you are, the more you live with the unbearable awareness of paradox. That life is both exquisitely beautiful and heartbreakingly tragic. That love is both profound and impossibly fragile. That truth can be glimpsed but never fully possessed. And most cruelly, that happiness, that simplest of longings, is not granted automatically to those who understand the world most deeply. Aldous Huxley warned that a society obsessed with intelligence risks creating minds capable of building paradise, but hearts too exhausted to enjoy it. And Viktor Frankl, who survived the horrors of Auschwitz, taught that suffering without meaning leads to despair. But even the most brilliant mind cannot generate meaning without anchoring itself to something beyond its own endless questioning. This is where the traditional narratives fail us. Society tells a simple story. Be smart, and you will succeed. Succeed, and you will be happy. But life, as you know too well, does not obey such linear maps. Intelligence brings many gifts, the ability to see connections others miss, to solve problems, to imagine new worlds. But it also opens your eyes to complexity, uncertainty, and the ever-present possibility of loss. You begin to see through the comforting illusions that others lean on, the myth that success guarantees fulfillment, the myth that love guarantees safety, the myth that certainty is even possible. And once those illusions dissolve, what remains? What can remain? You begin to understand why so many brilliant minds, from Virginia Woolf to David Foster Wallace, battled not only external obstacles, but the crushing weight of their own awareness. You see why Elon Musk speaks openly about the pain of carrying a mind that cannot stop working, even in the depths of night. You recognize it in the way J.K. Rowling, after achieving more success than she ever dreamed possible, fell into a profound depression. As if, having reached the summit, she found the view lonelier than anyone warned her it might be. And if you listen closely, you even hear it echoing in the songs we hum absent-mindedly. The Beatles singing Nowhere Man, Radiohead whispering, I'm a creep, Billie Eilish murmuring, I don't want to be you anymore. The artists, the thinkers, the dreamers, all grappling with the same ghost. How can a mind so rich still feel so empty? It is not a failure of will, it is not a lack of gratitude. It is the natural, inevitable collision between boundless thought and the fragile, fleeting nature of human happiness. And yet somewhere within this recognition, within this honest grappling with reality, there is also the seed of freedom. But first, you must see clearly and without flinching what is at stake. You must walk the house, room by room, and name what has been hidden. Only then can you begin to change it. Only then can the architecture of your mind become a home again, not a labyrinth. Only then can you find the door to the room where happiness, quiet and small and luminous, still waits. The deeper you walk into the house of your own mind, the more you begin to see the marks it has left on you, not just on your thoughts, but on your life, your relationships, your dreams. At first they appear almost invisibly, hairline fractures along the bright, beautiful walls, a missed laugh here, a hesitation there, a moment when you should have felt joy, but instead felt nothing at all, as if wrapped in thick glass. You tell yourself it's normal, that everyone feels this sometimes. But over time, the fractures deepen. The hidden cost of a brilliant mind untethered is this: disconnection. Disconnection from others, from the moment, from your own beating heart. Because when you see everything, every possibility, every risk, every underlying contradiction, it becomes harder and harder to simply be, to laugh without analyzing the joke, to trust without dissecting the motives, to love without holding the exit door open, just in case. Have you noticed it? The way conversations sometimes feel like performances, like everyone is playing roles in a play they didn't even know they were cast in. The way simple pleasures, a sunset, a song, a lingering hug, feel muted, distant, slightly out of reach. The way loneliness seeps in, even when you are surrounded by people. The mind builds castles of thought, but the heart, starved of simple presence, grows quieter, colder. In psychology, this is sometimes called cognitive overmodulation, the process by which we regulate emotions so intensely with thought that we blunt them altogether. The philosopher Alan Watts warned of this decades ago, calling it the disease of thinking without feeling. When the mind dominates unchecked, life becomes a series of calculations, not an experience, but a puzzle to be solved. You become a stranger to your own body's subtle wisdom, the thrill of spontaneous laughter, the warmth of being held without needing to explain yourself, the simple, irrational, inarguable joy of watching a child chase bubbles across a park. Instead, everything must be understood, quantified, proven. And in this endless pursuit of understanding, the tender parts of life, the parts that cannot be explained, only lived, begin to wither. Neurologically, this has real consequences. Studies show that overactive prefrontal cortex activity, the seat of rational thought, can suppress limbic system functions, the regions associated with emotional connection and joy. The more you analyze, the more you sever the bridge between yourself and your own feelings. And over time, the consequences ripple outward. In relationships, you may find yourself loved, admired even, but still fundamentally unseen, because you have armored yourself behind layers of perception, always observing, rarely surrendering. In career, you may achieve everything you set out to, success, recognition, even fame, only to discover that the summit feels curiously empty, because no accolade can replace the quiet satisfaction of simply being alive. In self-worth, you may tether your value to your mind's output, your insights, your ideas, rather than to the simple, irreplaceable fact of your existence. And when the mind falters, as all minds eventually do, the whole fragile scaffolding threatens to collapse. Society, of course, rarely warns you about this. Culture celebrates the sharp mind, the clever retort, the disruptive innovator. Movies and media hold up genius as the ultimate aspiration. But they don't show the late nights staring at a ceiling, wondering why you feel so hollow. They do not show the private anguish of understanding the world so well that it no longer surprises you, only disappoints you. They do not show the exquisite pain of feeling alive in theory, but not in practice. This is the unseen consequence. The very gift that lets you understand the world more deeply can, if left unchecked, build walls too high for joy to climb. It is not your fault. It is the nature of an untamed mind. And yet, even now, there is a choice. Because while the mind is powerful, it is not a prison. Not unless you make it one. If you listen closely, beneath the buzz of analysis, beyond the swirling vortex of thought, there is still a heartbeat, still a warmth, still a door waiting to be opened. A door that does not lead to more answers, but to something older, softer, more essential: presence, connection, life. You must decide, will you remain a brilliant architect, endlessly expanding the house of thought until you forget why you built it at all? Or will you choose, even now, to put down the tools for a moment? To listen not just to the questions, but to the silence between them. To remember that not everything precious must be understood. Some things only ask to be loved. The unseen consequences of brilliance need not be your destiny. They are only the ghost of an old story. You are free to write a new one. Imagine this. You are standing in the center of the house. The ceilings stretch into darkness. The walls pulse with every idea you've ever had. A living museum of your brilliance. But you feel no pride now, only exhaustion. The air smells faintly of old paper and forgotten dreams. You can almost hear the heartbeat of the house itself, a slow, mournful rhythm. And then, something cracks, a soft hairline fracture running up the far wall. For the first time, you realize, this house, magnificent as it is, was never meant to be your prison. It was meant to be your home, a place to rest, a place to live, not just think. And in that realization, something ancient stirs inside you, something wild, something rebellious. What if the real genius isn't in building a bigger house, but in daring to walk outside it? The rebellion begins here, not with adding more, not with fixing, optimizing, perfecting, but with a radical act of simplicity. The rebellion is choosing presence over perfection, being over knowing, connection over control. It is a rebellion against a culture that worships constant achievement, relentless thinking, permanent dissatisfaction. It is a rebellion back into yourself. You are not the first to feel this stirring. Oprah Winfrey, after years of chasing external validation, spoke openly about the hollow ache of making it, and how true fulfillment only came when she stopped asking the world to define her worth. When Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat, it was not just political defiance. It was an act of profound self-ownership, a declaration that being was enough, that dignity did not require permission. When Netflix dismantled the sacred model of television schedules, they weren't just innovating. They were trusting a simple truth. People want freedom more than structure. Rebellion is not chaos. It is choosing to honor what is real over what is expected. And for you, for the brilliant mind tired of running endless mental marathons, rebellion looks like this: sitting with an unsolved question and letting it stay unsolved. Can you feel the terror of that and the quiet relief? Feeling sadness and not explaining it away, letting it pass through you like weather, needing no apology. Choosing to see beauty without dissecting its anatomy. The color of a sunrise, the smell of wet earth, the trembling laugh of a child. Loving without preemptively grieving, trusting that heartbreak, when it comes, will be survivable. Small rebellions, every day. Tiny acts of courage against the tyranny of overthinking. You don't have to tear down the house. You don't have to abandon your mind or reject your gifts. You only have to open the windows. Let some rain in. Let the wild, messy, irrational world touch your skin again. Start small. A daily journal. Not to analyze your day, but to feel it. 5 minutes. One sentence of unfiltered truth. A question taped to your mirror. What is real right now? Not what should be, not what might be, what is. A practice of sacred pause. Before solving a problem, before offering advice, before explaining yourself. One full breath. One moment of simply being. You are not abandoning your mind. You are inviting your soul back into the conversation. For so long, the mind has been your shield, your tool, your identity. But you are more than your cleverness. You are more than your thoughts. You are the one who feels, who breathes, who loves. The mind was never meant to rule alone. It was meant to be in service of something greater. The vibrant, chaotic, tender, wild life bursting inside you. Yes, it is terrifying. Freedom always is. But it is also real. This is the rebellion, not against intelligence, but against the loneliness of living only in the head. It is the slow, fierce reclaiming of your whole self, the body, the heart, the breath, the moment, the imperfect, radiant, bewildering miracle of being alive. You are standing at the door now. It is open. Outside, the air smells of rain and earth and possibility. Your house of thought will not disappear. It will stand lovingly, waiting for when you need it. But you are allowed to walk beyond it. You are allowed to live. The rebellion has already begun. It begins every time you say, I don't have to understand this. I don't have to earn this. I am allowed to feel this. Every time you choose connection over comprehension, presence over perfection, love over certainty. Every time you remember, you are not here to solve life. You are here to live it. Imagine this. The rain has stopped. The sky, still heavy with clouds, cracks open just enough to let a shaft of golden light pour through. You step outside the house of your mind, barefoot, breathless, and the earth greets you like an old friend. The air smells electric, charged with the memory of storms. You can feel the mud squelch between your toes, grounding you. You can hear the soft whisper of leaves trembling in the breeze, a language older than words. And for the first time in a long time, you are not analyzing any of it. You are simply in it, alive, whole, enough. You realize then, not as an idea, but as a knowing that hums in your bones, that happiness was never something you could think your way into. It is not the prize at the end of solving every problem. It is not the trophy for winning the endless games of perfection, validation, success. Happiness is the air itself. It is the hum of existence. It was always here. It was only waiting for you to come home. You see now that the house with many rooms, the mind, was never your enemy. It was a gift, a beautiful, intricate, dazzling gift. But it was never meant to be the whole of you. It was never meant to be a fortress. It was meant to be a hearth, a place to warm your hands after wandering the world, a place to return to, not hide inside. You are not just a mind. You are not just a story. You are not just a summation of talents and thoughts and fears and aspirations. You are the spaciousness beneath all of it. You are the quiet witness, the tender breath, the sudden laughter, the silent awe. You are the one who experiences this life, not the one who must constantly explain it. And once you see this, even for a flicker of a second, everything changes. The heavy walls of thought don't disappear. You still have questions, still wrestle with complexity, still dream wildly. But now, there is space around them, breath between them. You are no longer trapped in the labyrinth of your own brilliance. You are free to walk the garden outside. Maybe happiness isn't something you achieve. Maybe it's what's left when you stop trying so hard. Maybe it's not the peak of the mountain, but the feeling of the wind on your face as you climb. Maybe it's not arriving somewhere perfect. Maybe it's realizing you were never lost to begin with. You remember suddenly the sound of your own laughter, real laughter, as a child, unconcerned, unexplained. You remember how the world used to shimmer. A puddle could be an ocean. A stick could be a sword. A glance from a friend could be an entire universe. And you realize with a tender, almost aching joy, that wonder is not gone. It is not reserved for the naive. It lives inside you still, curled up and waiting, not demanding anything, only hoping you would return. It is not too late. It is never too late. To lay down the endless striving, to walk outside the fortress, to taste the rain again. So here is the final truth, if you are willing to hear it. You were never broken. You were never too much. You were never a problem to solve. You are and have always been a living poem, messy, radiant, incomplete, whole. The mind is a masterpiece, but your heart, your being, is the masterpiece beyond masterpieces. There is no contradiction here. You are allowed to be brilliant and bewildered, sharp and soft, powerful and profoundly vulnerable. The house with many rooms is still yours. But now you know how to open the windows. You know how to let the world in. You know that you are allowed to laugh without a reason, cry without an explanation, love without a guarantee. You know that happiness is not a prize for good behavior or perfect understanding. It is a birthright. It is your breath, your body, your being, right here, right now. As you stand there, barefoot in the soft, forgiving earth, you hear it. Not a voice, not a thought, a knowing, soft as a whisper, steady as the tides. It says, you are already home. Reflection. Invitation. Tonight, find a quiet place. Take one deep, deliberate breath. Feel the air enter your body. The miracle of it. Write a single sentence in a journal or whisper it aloud. I am enough, even here. No fixing, no striving, no analyzing. Just one breath of freedom. Just one small rebellion back into life. And tomorrow, and the next day, and the day after that, let yourself live not as a question to be solved, but as a mystery to be loved.